to our Learn with Google webinar today, Making the Screen Pass. It's your briefing on digital strategies to make the most of your Super Bowl investment. Before we get going, a couple of quick housekeeping notes. First, you will receive a link to the recording within a couple of days following the call, and the recording will also be posted to YouTube so you can share with others on your team. Please feel free to chat any questions that you have into the chat window. We'll collect those and answer as many as possible at the conclusion of the content. And we're interested to know what you find surprising or useful on the call today. So please tweet or post using the hashtag ScreenPass to let us know. And there will also be a survey at the end to help us continue to improve these webinars, so please keep that in mind, and please definitely do fill out the survey at the end. I'm Kim Stonehouse, Industry Development Manager here at Google, and I'll be kicking things off today. But the bulk of the time, you'll hear from our experts across different product and strategy areas that we think are key to your Super Bowl plan. I'm joined by a team of specialists across mobile, video, and marketing solutions in general. And they'll be introduced as they join the discussion today. So, as you know, the Super Bowl has for some time been an unofficial American holiday. And for brands with a commercial, it's always represented a major marketing moment. But some things have certainly changed as well. In previous years, Super Bowl commercials were considered single-day lightning. But now it feels more like rolling thunder. And that's because we have the capability literally in our hands, in our pockets, to extend the conversation beyond the broadcast. And as evidence of that, 111 million viewers tuned in to the 2012 game in the U.S. But the number of commercial views online far surpassed the number of views during the broadcast itself. And really, views should be just the beginning, right? There's so much more potential to engage and translate that interest into leads and sales. So today is about tapping into viewers' natural interest in the ads, certainly a rarity, and learning from other media events and offering ideas to really create a storm of brand value from this event. So to do that, we'll examine viewer behavior pretty closely. First, we'll look at how you can expect consumers to engage with the game before, during, and after the broadcast. And we'll look at viewer behavior across devices as well. And when we get to recommendations, those will build on the viewer insight and also draw from what we've seen work in the past. So if we do our job today, at the end of the hour, you'll walk away with some proven strategies to maximize your brand exposure and also engagement and leads, really to hopefully kick off your momentum for the year. You'll have checklists of tips, lots of different free things that you can do, many examples, again, to reflect on. So starting with viewer behavior, we've learned that not all Super Bowl viewer behavior is the same, and it actually varies significantly pre, during, and post-event. If we think about the scope of Super Bowl interest overall, you might have expected that digital engagement would rise over the years, and we absolutely see this to be the case, as is expressed here on this graph. So to orient you, for each year, the football indicates the week the game was held. And we see interest, of course, reach its peak on game day. No surprise there. But if you look at 2009 in blue to this past year in red, you can see that the volume of search interest in the Super Bowl has certainly risen year over year. And that's interesting, probably not a shocker, but what we find to be useful to know and important, again, in line with this idea of rolling thunder, is that the duration of the media event has also grown, especially the 2 weeks prior to the game and post-game as well. And this type of data, looking at search queries, looking at them over time, leads us to recommend that marketers today prepare for a full month of activity between January to at least a week following the game. So opening up your coverage and being ready to capture that interest for such a long period of time. So that's what we mean by rolling thunder. So let's break down this activity to see some of the differences before, during, and after the game. Okay, so pre-game, the anticipation builds. According to ad agency Vanderbilt Bell and Partners, 1 in 5 seek out ads before the game. And 47% will find those ads through YouTube, which is about twice the rate of discovery as what we see on brand sites. So twice as likely to discover one of these commercials through YouTube. And in 2012, we actually saw 34 campaigns released before the big game to capitalize on the early interest in ads. And it's really the first time that we had seen that level of pre-release activity. In addition to checking out the ads early, Americans are getting psyched about the game and planning the parties, and search data tells us that we'll look for recipes, we research decor for parties, and we want to learn about the teams playing. So that type of party planning is something to keep in mind. I mean, tactically, as a marketer, you can expect that placing your ad adjacent to party planning related videos and content will gain great visibility for your commercial. We saw that the query Super Bowl recipe climbed 23 times the week before the Super Bowl versus the prior week. When we get to the game itself, the major behavior here is all about reacting to the action, with much of that immediate reaction happening on a mobile device, either a phone or a tablet. In 2012, this past year, a full 41% of searches related to Super Bowl ads during the game came from mobile devices. And most advertisers saw actually higher mobile queries than desktop during the game. And ads certainly play a big role in the conversation. Ads were the topic of 42%, so almost half of all comments across social media. And here on this chart, you see the top 10. The top ads, on average, resulted in over 2,000 comments a second in the 45 minutes immediately following the commercial hitting the air, really underscoring this idea of immediate reaction, which is enabled by mobile devices. And I think the interesting and I'm sure challenging aspect for a marketer is predicting the most buzzworthy moments of the game that will result in some online activity that you can work off of. And from what we've seen, we recommend that you prepare for people to search for certainly your brand, certainly the content in the commercial, especially any celebrities involved in the ad, and also be ready for halftime programming to draw interest. Madonna actually topped the search charts last year. All right, so after the guacamole's gone and everyone goes home, the marketing game is really at halftime. Because Super Bowl ads have a second life. People are seeking these ads out and also finding them through friends on Facebook or a link on YouTube. And among those, that 40 million who are planning to share the ads, it's not just the kids anymore. We found that a third of those who share are actually 30 years or older. So prepare for that post-game water cooler. So what we really recommend here is to align your strategy to viewer behavior. Just a very quick summary of this section. Pre-game, the party animals are planning all the way from late December through the game. They're searching for recipes, the teams, the ads. During the game, viewers react to the action, especially through their mobile devices, and then post-game, they'll relive the moments. So again, we really recommend planning for about a month of opportunity late December through February. And we'll get to some more tactical recommendations in a bit. But before we get to that, we'd be crazy not to dig a bit deeper on mobile and tablet. So I'd like to turn it over to Adam Grunwald, Mobile Product Marketing Manager. Adam, thank you for joining, and thank you especially for agreeing to preview some of the findings of your not yet released tablet study.
Thanks so much, Kim, and hi, everyone. As Kim said, my name is Adam, and I work on the mobile marketing team here at Google. I'd like to share with you guys today two levels of insight. The first is some insight from our multi-screen research that kind of shows how people use their multiple devices in a given period of time and simultaneously and everything else. And then also drill down specifically on tablets, as this is a device that's rapidly growing and that'll play a major role in the upcoming Super Bowl. I would like to say for multi-screen, in the course of a single day, I now use a smartphone, a computer, a tablet, and a television. And I think that that's actually probably true for a lot of the people here in this webinar. As people spend more time on these various devices, we wanted to get a better sense of what sorts of unique behaviors are developing, and of course what they mean for businesses. So during the Super Bowl, we all know that the event is not limited to a single day, but instead people are going to be engaging with Super Bowl-related content for several days, but also across multiple devices. And they're going to be doing a similar activity across multiple devices, whether or not it's preparing for a party, as Kim mentioned, following up with a brand that they saw an ad for, or maybe even just finding a recipe. So from last year, we saw some terrific engagement from mobile devices, specifically from our AdBlitz platform, that we saw 25.5% of all mobile views occurring on tablet devices. So this is 1 in 4 of views when tablets still had very low penetration last year, and that 75% of AdBlitz votes occurred on a 75% increase in AdBlitz votes on non-desktop devices. So this kind of shows how truly substantial these two devices are when it comes to interacting with Super Bowl. This one facet of Super Bowl interaction really was dominated by mobile devices. In the world of our multi-screen research, we found two major methods in which consumers engage in this multi-screen behavior. The first one is simultaneous usage, and that's where people are using more than one device at the same time. And I'll drill down on that a little bit more when we speak about simultaneous usage with TV, right? People watching TV while searching on their smartphone or looking things up on their tablet. One of the big surprises of the research, however, was the huge frequency of people engaging in what we call sequential device usage. And that's where they used one device after another to complete a task. So people are doing this sequential device usage multiple times a day, and for every activity that you could imagine, for shopping, for searching, for social networking, and everything else. An example of this is people that see a billboard when they are out, and they use their mobile phone to look up that message immediately, but then when they get home, they use their PC or a tablet to transact. So this sort of sequential usage is extremely common and is going to be happening throughout the week leading up to the Super Bowl and the week after the Super Bowl. One more really interesting finding related to the sequential device usage that you can see on this slide now is specifically how people move between devices during sequential usage. So 3 ways popped out as dominant methods. People email the link of the site or task that they were doing to themselves. People navigate directly to that business's website. But the most common way is that people replicate their search when they're resuming that activity on the second device. So this means that they're actually doing that same search again that they did to find them on that first device, which has direct implications, because if you can't be found by that same sort of search term or on that same keyword across devices, it means that you're going to be pre-qualifying a consumer or a lead that you're going to be missing out on when they're further down that funnel and looking for you on the next device to transact or to interact deeper. So back to the issue of simultaneous usage, we found that television really comes into play in this camp of simultaneous usage. In a given day, 77% of TV viewers are using another device at the same time. And the most common device actually that we see used for a TV viewer is a smartphone, but tablets are also really getting up there. So this simultaneous usage presents a major opportunity to drive immediate action with messages on television. In fact, 22%, that's about 1 in 4 of all smartphone searches that occur occur as a result of a stimulus on television. So naturally, this number is going to be even higher when there's huge television events like the Super Bowl. This is pretty huge, really, and changes the game for TV advertising. It's no longer a situation of a business showing a commercial and hoping to achieve brand affinity or hoping that the consumer remembers that message when they visit the mall 2 weeks later, right? Because now people can just do a mobile search based on the commercials that resonate with them. This means that businesses can no longer have their TV advertising over in the traditional media camp and then have their online ads over in the digital camp and have these separate messages because let's say if a car company talks in their commercial about how gas mileage is a really big deal and they have the best gas mileage and that people should be looking for a car that has the best gas mileage, but then when a person does a search for things about gas mileage, if that car company is not showing up based on that search, they've really missed out on a huge opportunity and they've essentially pushed a lead into the hands of a competitor. So I promised that I really wanted to drill down on tablets, and I think that a lot of people on this call may have a lot of experience with smartphones and desktop, but really the new and hugely important contender this year is going to be tablets. We're seeing tablet usage rise extremely rapidly. This is the fastest growing consumer device ever. And also keep in mind that the Super Bowl is after the holidays, and tablet ownership is going to continue to rise very, very rapidly as people get new tablets or get tablets when they didn't have them before over the holidays. So tablets really present a huge opportunity to connect with consumers in a new, more immersive and interactive way. So the first thing to note about tablets is that people are spending a lot of time with them. They're accessing them daily, right? We see 71% of people are accessing their tablets daily, and that the average amount of time that they're spending per day or per interaction is 30 minutes or more. So these are serious interactions that people are having with these devices. And a lot of that is because of the feelings that tablets elicit in users that people want to explore. They spend more time on a given website because they can zoom and pinch and they're just in this sort of leisurely mindset. We looked a lot at how people felt about tablets and how they felt while using tablets, and really that interactive, leisurely, immersive sort of language consistently came up, showing that this really does present a unique opportunity because people are so open to discovery. Another thing that really stood out is how tablets are becoming the new hub for consuming entertainment. This means watching video clips, TV shows, games, and full streaming live content, which is obviously very relevant for sports consumers. Already, almost half of the tablet owners out there state that their tablet is becoming the device where they get most of their entertainment, right? It is literally the hub where they feel most comfortable, have most of their entertainment, and prefer to get most of their entertainment from. And this, of course, has huge implications for Super Bowl since people are never really going to be interacting with all the video content, ads and replays and everything else like that before, during, and after the game on their tablets. I want to talk specifically about tablets' role as a couch companion because we saw in general that TVs are used simultaneously with other devices, but this is especially the case with tablets. Tablets aren't the primary device used with TV right now only because of device penetration, right? So there just aren't as many tablets out there as there are smartphones. But of tablet owners, a huge proportion are using their tablets while watching TV every day. And they're using them for a long time and to do a lot of things while watching TV. This is because they're so quick and comfortable to pick up. You don't need to boot it up. You don't need to log in. Other things like this. You just open it up and you can do a search immediately. You can do a voice search or just very, very quickly interact with the message that you see on television. And that is exactly what we're seeing now on major events as we see tremendous spikes in search behavior. Off of during the last presidential election, we looked at what happened on search behavior during the debates, and we saw on tablets especially the largest spikes in searches. When the comment was made about binders of women, we saw searches for binders on tablets increase by 8,000%. When the sort of debate came back and forth about Libya and the speech made in the Rose Garden, we saw searches for Rose Garden on tablets increased by 28,000%. So we see these huge amounts of people that are turning immediately to their tablets. Just to kind of give you guys more of a sense of how substantial this TV tablet behavior is, we see that the average number of times that a tablet owner reaches for their tablet while watching TV in a given hour of watching TV is 5 times. That they're reaching for their tablet 5 times in an hour of TV. So we can imagine in the Super Bowl, this is going to be, they're going to be reaching for their tablets based on just about every commercial to share, tweet about it, to follow up with the business. They're going to be reaching for their tablets to look at replays or to check their fantasy football profiles and everything else like that. And in fact, a quarter of tablet owners never put their tablet down while watching TV. So this is pretty enormous. And finally, I want to talk specifically about how advertising affects tablets, because I think this is obviously what a lot of people in this webinar want to know. How can we drive actions on a tablet? How can we use tablet advertising in order to drive the sort of actions that we're looking for? And I think the first thing that's worth noting is just how many people notice tablet advertising, how many people turn to their tablets after seeing an advertisement. We see that the vast majority of tablet owners have searched on tablets after seeing an ad. And this is ads on television, ads on other devices, ads on tablets, ads even in the real world. But I want to talk specifically about some of the actions that are taken as a result of tablet advertising. Tablets offer a lot of great opportunities for businesses to connect with their consumers. They're highly noticeable across apps, websites, and in search. These ads really stand out. And of course, with rich media advertising that's available on tablets, you can really make very beautiful, very engaging ads. And also, they've proven to be very effective in driving both online and offline actions. We see the majority of users have taken online action as a result of tablet advertising. And there's still a lot of people that have made direct purchases as a result of that tablet advertising, that have taken offline action, like visiting a store, using a store locator, and of course, people that made recommendations as well. I think the strongest value proposition of tablet advertising is the opportunity to allow users to really interact with the ad through rich media formats. Users are really in this laid-back, exploratory mindset, and so a fun and interactive ad about the brand can be incredibly effective for getting users to play with it, stay a long time, and get the sort of brand messages that you're trying to get across. 89% of users report noticing and being aware of and taking action of tablet advertising. And the number one ranked thing to make tablet ads better by users is making them more interactive. So I think it's this perfect recipe where you have these users, these consumers that want Super Bowl ads. They're excited about Super Bowl ads. This is the time of the year that they really care about ads. And then they have a device that they enjoy consuming ads on. So you have this perfect recipe for these sorts of interactive ads where you're kind of sure to get the effective brand messages across and the sort of engagement statistics that you're looking for. So I want to talk specifically about some of the recommendations that we can make, about how you can align your Super Bowl plan to this viewer behavior, drive more engagement, and turn your Super Bowl strategy into effectively a multi-screen strategy. And so I'll kick it off with some multi-screen recommendations. I think the first thing that businesses need to take away from this, from the frequency of sequential device activity, the frequency of simultaneous usage, is that you need to have consistency of your messages across devices. You can't have your TV advertisement operating in a silo and not being essentially replicated or being referenced online, right? Because if you have a particular brand message that P&G is for moms or something else like that during your TV advertisement, but then someone does a search or expects to find more information about that very easily on their computer or smartphone or tablet, and they're not able to find that, then you've essentially set up a very unfortunate and not enjoyable experience. So you can achieve this by having, for example, keyword parity across your campaigns. We saw before how search is the most common way of moving between devices. So when you have keyword parity, you can make sure that doing that same search on any device as you move between devices to transact or locate a business will consistently bring that user to your website. And then, of course, also on the simultaneous usage, any opportunity to allow users to use both of these devices at once, whether it's Shazamming a song that's in a commercial, as we saw some people doing in the Super Bowl even last year, or or giving a call to action to download an app. And use that during halftime or anything else like that can be tremendously effective, and is something that television advertisements can do to drive action. I think another thing that's important to note is the immediacy with which users can now take action. So, I gave the example of elections. Another good example is during the Olympics. For those that watched the Olympics opening ceremony, you'll remember that Paul McCartney performed towards the end. And so this graph that's up here now is increases, or essentially volume of searches for Paul McCartney over time. And the reason that there's 3 peaks is because the opening ceremony of the Olympics aired at different times. But the blue line is actually smartphones. So we see that smartphones is really towering above all other devices for the way that users are interacting. And we saw the same thing happen with searches for Clint Eastwood last year off of the Halftime in America commercial. So it's just very good to make sure that you're engaged with people on those digital devices when they're doing these searches. We see that in the United States, tablet searches spiked to be at the same level as desktop searches, and that's extremely substantial. The speakers after me are going to talk about some other examples of how people did this, but one really effective way that a business did this with Chevy, used their sort of game time app in order to drive engagement during the game and after it by asking sorts of questions of what happened during the game, so that users that were obviously watching television could use this second screen that they have with them to continue to interact. And this kind of kept them as a consistent presence, because this brand was consistently on that person's second screen as they're going through. So these are also terrific strategies, and it's kind of a huge blank canvas of the sorts of things that you can do with so many devices at your consumer's fingertips. So now that you're multi-screen ready, I'll turn it over to the video experts, Sue McCauley, Entertainment Marketing Manager at Google and YouTube, and Lexi Turpak, who's the Interactive Programs Analyst at YouTube.
Thank you so much, Adam. So we started the recommendations with multi-screen strategies, as you just heard and saw, because mobile and tablet use are one of the defining behaviors around the big game. But keep those multi-screen recommendations in mind as we go through the following strategies to get your videos discovered. So before I jump right into it, I do want to say I think all of us on this call would agree that this is the largest television event of the year, as you heard, commanding over 111 million viewers. But it's also the biggest brand marketing event of the year. Half of viewers tune into the Super Bowl are actually tuning into the game, and the other half are tuning into the commercials. Why? Because, as we all know, the Super Bowl commercials really are the pinnacle of television advertising. And I think all of us here are always intrigued and interested in terms every year about which new innovations, which new smart strategies advertisers are focused in, and what are they planning on revealing, and how effectively is it going to enhance their brand presence, increase their ROI. Like, these are all the questions I think all of us in this call are excited to learn more about. So I have 4 winning plays for video discovery that we've seen in 2012. One is around the teaser campaigns, which I'm sure all of you would agree is the focus is to really build a story and build anticipation and user engagement around teasers. The second one I'm going to go into is talking about cross-promoting of talent in terms of offline opportunities to increase your video. The third is actually releasing the entirety of the commercial before the Super Bowl, which we saw very well with Volkswagen with Darth Vader 2 years ago. And lastly, unveiling and waiting until the big reveal, having that big surprise element that we saw. So those are the 4 strategies we're going to quickly walk through around the winning plays for video discovery. So the first one is around the teaser campaign. And I think one of the best commercials I saw was around M&M's with LMFAO, Just My Shell. So M&M's actually introduced a new character to represent brown M&M's named Miss Brown. And the Super Bowl commercial was a centerpiece of this liquid campaign pre, during, and post Super Bowl. She arrived in social media, taking over the M&M's fan page on Facebook. She sent messages on her Twitter handle, which was M&M's Miss Brown. And they also had a very robust print, online, and mobile ads campaign that also drove to this. But they basically built the story of who Miss Brown was, building up, and all these teasers that we saw revealed until the until the big game day when it came out. And actually, Eminem's Just My Shell was the winner of our YouTube Super Bowl contest commercial gallery, which is called AdBlitz, which you heard a little bit earlier when Adam was talking about multi-screen. Another interesting way of eliciting user engagement, and I would be remiss to not mention it, is around Doritos. Doritos Crash the Super Bowl has done it for several years and done it brilliantly about asking users to submit their Super Bowl commercial leveraging their product of Doritos. And every year they enhance it and improve it, and we're excited this year that they're actually going to be leveraging and increasing their presence by upping the ante, if you will. So not only would the winning video actually appear during the Super Bowl, the largest TV event of all time, but it's also going to include a $1 million prize and an opportunity to work with director Michael Bay. So teaser strategies are one that absolutely we've seen a lot of people use. Actually, the week leading up to the Super Bowl, we saw our top 5 Super Bowl ad teasers actually commanded over 30 million views on YouTube. So we're seeing a lot of success with teasers and releasing that. But moving on, let's move on to another winning video strategy around cross-promoting with talent. So I think all of us remember David Beckham, who released his new bodywear collection with H&M. It was the first time Beckham or H&M actually had a commercial in the Super Bowl. But he actually, leveraging talent, we saw a huge spike in terms of search queries on Google, whether it was Madonna, whether it was Beckham, whether it was Adriana Lima for the guys in the call. We saw a tremendous amount. So when people actually push their talent into their spots, we're obviously seeing a lot of success around that. And we're also seeing them cross-promote it. So David Beckham was on all the late-night circuits. He was on Google Plus Hangouts online. So we're seeing people really put more promotion into these elements to increase more awareness and brand equity for the spots. And Kia Motors did something very interesting this year from an offline perspective. They actually released their teaser campaign in 18,000 movie theaters across the U.S., and then they actually released the actual creative in those same 18,000 theaters a few days before the actual Super Bowl. So another interesting strategy. Then moving on to what we saw with VW and Darth Vader, and this is about releasing the actual creative. We saw 34 campaigns release their actual creative early, which was really unprecedented and pretty overwhelming in terms of the numbers of people who are actually releasing in advance to get people excited about their commercial. We saw it done with Matthew Broderick's Ferris Bueller spot, which I'm sure you guys all remember. He started off with a teaser strategy as well and then launched the 2.5-minute spot in its entirety 1 week prior to the Super Bowl. And I think the last thing should be really also focused on, even though we're seeing all of this like teaser content, pre-game, post-game creative, outtakes, alternate versions, making of, behind the scenes, all this kind of great, kind of bolstering the spot so to increase more awareness and excitement and user engagement and more story behind it. I would also be remiss if we didn't talk about traditionally and historically what we've seen with video discovery is what typical advertisers do. They have great content and they wait. They want to build that surprise element. They want to build that intrigue. And we saw that very well with Clint Eastwood's Halftime in America, 2-minute spot from Chrysler that really just was very thought-provoking and elicited a lot of emotional responses. So as you're sitting there watching your Super Bowl commercials with all your friends, having your guacamole and your multi-screen experience, you're also having this huge reveal. So the real question I think that you're all asking is, okay, that's great, Sue. We see 4 winning video discovery strategies. Like people are doing teaser campaigns, they're leveraging talent, they're releasing the entirety of the commercial before the Super Bowl, or they're waiting to do the big reveal during the actual Super Bowl. So, but what's the right thing for me? What's the right thing for my brand advertisers? It's great to see examples of what other people have done, but what is the real kind of metrics or data? Like, should we be releasing early? Since we said 34 campaigns released early and 20 campaigns actually waited to reveal, what is the right thing should we be doing from like a data and an analyst standpoint? So I'm going to turn it over to Lexi, who is our interactive programs analyst, to talk through that.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Sue. So, yeah, we really wanted to know, does launching your asset before the game affect the performance of your campaign? And if so, how? And again, like Sue said, in 2012, 34 campaigns released before the game and 20 campaigns released post-game. So last year, research from AdBlitz 2012 showed that if your goal is simply to drive video views on your commercials across the web, you should release video assets early. So in a study done by Visible Measures, Super Bowl campaigns that released video assets before the game generated over 9.1 million views on average. And Super Bowl campaigns that waited until game day or after the game to launch their video assets generated just 1.3 million views on average. So this is a difference of nearly 600%. And as you see in the graph, these views reflect the campaign's true reach, which includes both the original views of the original assets that were uploaded by the brands and their agencies, as well as social views, which are copied and derivative assets that are uploaded by audiences. So to put this in perspective, pre-game campaigns averaged 2.1 million social views alone, so a huge amount of social views, while post-game campaigns averaged just 1.3 million total views. So really we saw if your goal is purely to drive the highest volume of video views and eyeballs on your video content, it can be highly beneficial to release your assets early, whether they're the teasers or the entire full-length ad. But like Sue was talking about, releasing early is obviously just one tactic. And as we all know, there's a ton of hype leading up to the Super Bowl when fans are just chomping at the bit to view Super Bowl-related content. So it's not really a huge, shocking surprise that ads that are released early get a ton of eyeballs. However, saving commercial spots for game day proved to be an undeniably successful strategy for some of the most memorable brands last year. Like Chrysler, their unveiling of their 2-minute spot during the game had a huge impact and not only drove views, but it also sparked this emotional response due to their powerful creative that really struck a chord with viewers in a meaningful way. And the ad, as you remember, definitely stood out from the bunch, promoting a motivational, kind of optimistic message that stirred up long-lasting conversations among fans. And revealing this spot during the game, when many viewers were watching in living rooms together at their Super Bowl parties together, and they could immediately turn to their neighbors for discussion in that room, was most certainly a winning strategy for Chrysler. So when deciding if you should release early, definitely consider your creative and whether or not it might have a larger impact if it was revealed during the game, as opposed to letting the cat out of the bag maybe a little too soon. So to sum it up, should you release early, I think as you can probably tell, there really isn't a straightforward answer to the question, and the decision really depends on many factors like your advertising objectives, your messaging, and the creative that you're planning to share.
Thank you, Lexia. It was perfect. So moving right along into AdBlitz. AdBlitz is YouTube's Super Bowl commercial contest gallery that we've done for the past 5 years. So in 2013, it will be our 6th year, and we're very proud of this program. As we mentioned, we saw over 111 million viewers tune into television. Well, we saw almost double that in video playbacks on YouTube. So the majority of the audience that are consuming this content is actually on YouTube, which is why this is a great program, and I hope a lot of your advertisers are a part of it. If any of you have a Super Bowl commercial in CBS's broadcast next year, I hope that you could definitely be a part of it because it's a great way to increase your ROI, increase engagement, and increase more awareness around the message that you're trying to convey to your audience. So this is a quick recap of what AdBlitz is and what it did in 2012. As I mentioned, it had tremendous views and votes, and M&M's was crowned the winner, followed by Chrysler and 3 other runners-up. But we're really proud of the program. This past year, we partnered with NBC Universal and NBC Sports, who hosted the Super Bowl this past year, if you all remember, in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. And it was a really great opportunity to work with them and also to host one of our very first Google Plus Hangouts with Emmy Award-winning sports broadcaster Darren Ravel, which you'll learn a little bit more in the social section, which is going to be proceeding after the video section. So lastly, what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about also is what are the new innovations with AdBlitz coming up in 2013. It's always about the user experience and making sure that the user has the best optimal experience possible. So at the core of the program, it's an opportunity for people to view and vote on their commercials, but we want to innovate, we want to enhance the user experience So this year we're proud to be talking about data visualization opportunities, about showing where people and user behaviors are trending from, and showing what their intent is, and showing all the global reach that we have with this program. With AdBlitz this past year, we saw 26% of our traffic actually driving to AdBlitz. So we think visualizing it in a very cool and sexy way of a map of where all the users are coming from is one of our cool user experience innovations. We're also looking at different optimizations around mobile and tablet and second screen experiences, because we know, as you heard from the first section, that people are absolutely multi-screening. That is our life today. And we saw last year for the very first time that NBC.com live streamed the Super Bowl, and it absolutely did not cannibalize viewership to broadcast, because it actually increased the number of broadcasts by 300,000. So it's very interesting. And then we're also going to be talking more about our Google Plus and social experience with AdBlitz, which again, I will wait for one more slide before you jump into social. But lastly, winning plays for video discovery. As Lexi and I mentioned, there are multiples of strategies. We brought up 4, and we showed different examples of advertisers that have done them really well. But at the end of the day, it really depends on your story that you're trying to tell, the message, your audience that you're trying to reach, and we hope here, obviously at YouTube, that there is that opportunity to work with you guys. And one opportunity is, during this fast ramp around the game, there isn't a ton of time to optimize the placement of your videos, so why not create the opportunity for large reach while only playing when engaged viewer watches your video, and that's with our format of TrueView. TrueView advertisers give viewers the choice on whether they want to watch your ad, and advertisers for watched ads. And the result is a highly engaged user watching a really, really relevant ad. So hopefully you're all very familiar with TrueView, but if not, please follow up with your respective sales team. So on that note, I am going to show, I'm actually sorry, I jumped a slide, but this is our Super Bowl video discovery checklist. And we're going to be sending this out to you guys in a PDF form, because I know we're probably getting a bit short on time, and I'm sure you guys have a ton of questions that you want to ask. But here's a quick video discovery checklist that as you're working and planning out your strategies for Super Bowl, think about all these things, and we're obviously here to help and answer any more questions here. So moving on to social, which is a really exciting portion of today, I'm going to throw it over to Anand Thakur to lead us in a social discussion. Thanks.
Thanks, Sue. Like Sue said, this is Anand Thakur. I work on the product solutions team. In this section, we're going to talk about ways you can amplify interest in your creative and drive interest in sales overall. So to kick things off, a great way to drive interest and engagement is with a hangout on Google+. As Sue mentioned, last year, in a partnership with NBC Sports, Google+ held an on-air hangout with sports reporter Darren Ravel the day after the Super Bowl. The Hangout was a great way to give fans access to an Emmy Award-winning sports reporter, ask him questions, and also get his thoughts on the Super Bowl. Hangouts like this give your fans special access, and they give special access to people who normally wouldn't have that. You can replicate this idea with local talent, other celebrity talent as well, and you can make these available throughout your whole community. Another great thing about Hangouts is that they allow you to generate automatic video content. So when a Hangout on air is recorded, you're able to have your video populated onto the YouTube channel, giving you the opportunity to syndicate this across even after the event. Another cool thing about these Hangouts are that you can actually hype your own Hangout. So this Hype My Hangout tool lets you create a short video to help you spread the word about your upcoming event. Again, the technology is free, and it's a great way to drive engagement overall. So let's talk a little bit about a couple of other free features that can help you ensure you're getting the most out of your Super Bowl investment. Whether you have an ad in the game or whether you're trying to capitalize on the buzz of the Super Bowl commercials, making sure your videos have clear descriptions will help drive discovery and engagement. With YouTube, you can take advantage of all 5,000 characters that are available in the text area and use appropriate tags to help drive natural search traffic to your videos. So one thing we want to talk a little bit about is the call to action overlays and how they can actually help increase your video ads response rate. How they work is pretty simple. It's a thumbnail overlay to your video. What a viewer sees is about 20% of the player covered up at the bottom, and these kind of populate pretty quickly. From an advertiser standpoint, you only see this as a free overlay, and this actually comes as part of a TrueView campaign. So again, this is a free option with any TrueView campaign that Sue was mentioning, and it's a great way to drive engagement and drive views for your video. As marketers, we all know that even the best videos will need more than just a great search and a social plan. In fact, using additional promotion will help drive views and build interest and engagement with your video. A couple of great ways to do that are through promoted video and paid search. Promoted video gives you the opportunity to reach users while they are in discovery mode and while they're actually searching for your content throughout YouTube. You can also reach them on watch pages and browse pages through related content. These are great tools, and they're actually available on a CPC basis, so you only pay for the people that actually see this. The ultimate goal in this area is really to drive interest again and to drive views to your watch page. One other piece that we want to talk about, and it's probably one of the more important ones, is also with remarketing. You want to make sure you close the loop with your users who have chosen to interact with your brand. We talked a little bit about TrueView earlier. There's also another one called First Watch Skippable, which gives you the opportunity to reach users who have elected to watch your ad and interact with your brand. And on this last piece of remarketing, this gives you the opportunity to remind them about how your brand has been able to take action and drive outcomes. Advertisers can remarket to users who have clicked on videos and viewed them. They're able to retarget off of mastheads on YouTube, people who have interacted with or looked at your videos, and also people who have subscribed to your channel. So ultimately, as marketers and as a company, we want to make sure that we're relevant to our consumers and help drive leads with marketing and remarketing. So basically, we've covered off on quite a few tools that are able to help amplify interest and drive sales. And in this next section, we're going to talk briefly a little bit about measurement. And we have a lot of tools available at Google. A full suite of Google products are actually available for you to measure your Super Bowl campaign. On this slide, you can see certain tools are really helpful for measuring during the game, and other tools are really helpful for measuring post-game. So a few key tools we want to call out and talk about. YouTube Analytics. This is something that you actually have available on your own YouTube account. And this can help you quantify view count, learn more about how your video was discovered, audience reactions, and who was watching your video, and more. From a standpoint of Google Analytics, it not only lets you measure sales and conversions, but also gives you fresh insights into how visitors use your site, how they arrived on your site, and how you can keep them coming back. Some of the other tools like query reports, these tools are available if you're asking your Google account team. They can pull these reports for you and share out relevant information depending on which brand you work on. With that, I will turn this back over to Kim. She'll take care of a wrap-up in the Q&A session.
Great, thanks, Anand. So I think when it comes down to it, we know that a commercial in the Super Bowl is a highly expensive proposition, but the good news is that today, more than ever, there's so much brand value to be gained above and beyond that 30 or 60-second moment. So to recap really quickly, I think it's clear multi-screen is a must, and we predict that tablets could be the real story when we look back on 2013. And when it comes down to video discovery, it should really start with your goals, as Sue and Lexi discussed. And then once you've determined whether or not you want to release early, how you want to release, how you want to tease, then it's about boosting your views with all of the promotional tools and free tips that are available. And then, of course, in order to translate that buzz into sales, ensuring that you give a call to action and that you follow up through remarketing will really help ensure that the value extends far beyond the month of Super Bowl action. And then finally, you can measure. There's a lot you can do to measure the weekend of. As you're sitting on the couch on Sunday, you can check Google Trends, etc. And certainly a great suite of tools available to follow up and understand the full impact of your Super Bowl campaign. But really overall, the final recommendation here, if you haven't already, is to schedule a dedicated Super Bowl planning meeting with your Google team to really hone in on the tailored strategy that will meet your specific brand goals. So we highly recommend that. At this point, I will take a few questions, and please remember to fill out the survey. We really do value your feedback, and it will be used to change upcoming webinars. So please click that button on the console. Okay, so we do have time for a few questions. The first one, Adam, I believe this one is for you. Adam, do you know what tablet usage looks like during the Super Bowl? Does it compare to the 24% during normal TV viewing that you mentioned?
Thanks so much for the question. Just to kind of give everyone a reminder, so again, that was 24% of people remarked that they never put their tablet down while watching television, right? 24% of tablet viewers. So, and then the number of people that use their tablets while watching TV is much, much higher, but they use them at different points throughout, and again, the average number was 5 times that they're reaching for a tablet. So the short answer to the question is it's much higher. So the Super Bowl is obviously a much longer TV activity, so the average amount of time that people are watching TV is shorter, which means that there's less opportunities to use their tablets. So a longer TV activity with more stimulus that people want to take digital action from causes a higher amount of usage. So we'll of course be analyzing this usage this year with the Super Bowl, but we expect that to be closer to the amount of like 50% rather than 24%.
All right, thank you. And Adam, while we've got you here, another tablet question. You mentioned actions taken, so from tablet ads. So 56% took an action online, 28% took an action offline. Any idea how those action taken stats for tablet ads compare to PC and or mobile ads?
It's a great question. We kind of think of tablets from an advertising perspective as the Goldilocks device, right? It's kind of somewhere in the middle and just right. So as is expected, we see higher amounts of offline action taken as a result of mobile advertising. So things like looking someone up on a map or making a call or visiting a business or store locator is obviously higher on mobile because the mobile device kind of goes with you more than a tablet or a PC obviously would. However, tablet is higher than desktop or PC in terms of offline actions and is actually right in line with PC in terms of online actions, visiting a website, making a purchase, other things like that. I think another very interesting thing to point out here, though, is when comparing the online actions taken between tablet and PC, one very nice thing that we see about tablet is the amount of time spent on a page is generally higher on a tablet, right? That means that if they visit a website, they're exploring more and interacting with more elements of that page because of this sort of discovery mindset and this sort of leisurely mindset. So there's a higher chance of sort of engagement if you capture them on a tablet as opposed to a PC.
All right, thank you. Goldilocks, that's a good way to describe it. So this next question, I think, would be for Sue, and maybe Anand as well if you have additional thoughts. So what about the folks who do not have a Super Bowl commercial? What can you do to participate in these brand opportunities online?
Great. So to be part of the YouTube AdBlitz program is what you're alluding to does require you to have an actual commercial spot in the actual broadcast of the Super Bowl, but there are many other opportunities. It doesn't, as you saw from even just a brief overview of some of our TrueView formats or other media promotional outlets, there are absolutely ways to be a part of it, and you should be. Absolutely, because YouTube, according to Visible Measures, accounts for the majority of views and placements across your video. So when it comes to Super Bowl commercials and video content, I think we'd all agree that YouTube is a place that you should be at. And I think there are a multitude of ways. It doesn't have to be directly tied to our program, but 6% of our queries the day of Super Bowl, people were actively typing in Super Bowl commercial terms or AdBlitz terms. The majority of people are there, and they're willing to look and search and find and connect with your content. So make sure you're there is the most important thing, and there's a lot of cool promotional tools that you can leverage. Anand, do you want to add anything from a social perspective?
I think from a social perspective and even from a promotions perspective, if you're not in the game, you can also still be surrounding it. A lot of people have done this really well. You can probably see it from the Olympics case studies with what Nike has done, even though they weren't the official sponsor. But a lot of people have done this well, and you can kind of surround the environment. So whether it's being a part through promoted search and promoted video, or you're actually taking a taking it into a social arena, hosting a hangout with a celebrity or with a sports figure and trying to really tap into that same audience with that game, you're still able to be a part of it even though you don't necessarily have an ad in the game.
All right, thank you. And we are reaching the end of the hour, so we're going to close here. Just a quick reminder to everyone to please fill out the survey, just a few very quick questions. And thank you again for attending this Learn with Google webinar. We look forward to partnering with you leading up to Super Bowl season in 2013.